I've talked about this before, but there was the program called McNamara's Morons, where a man named McNamara, I can't remember his position. He basically lowered the bar,
Warlord.
and he took all of people and tried to push them into places where they're
Isn't that Operation Dumbo Drop?
That was another name for it. Yes, with Bill Murray. That was the documentary. That was the film based on the true events, Operation Dumbo Drop. That's actually where Bill Murray, for some reason, saves an elephant and parachutes it back to its homeland.
Is that actually I've never heard it.
That is a film.
That is a film, and it is a war/family film, according to Google, which is
it is
great combo. 28% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that's just
those East Coast liberal financial.
No, let me read the synopsis here. 1995. To keep the loyalty of a village during the Vietnam War, a U.S. Army officer and his unit struggled to deliver a live elephant. That's it.
Oh, it's got Ernie Hudson in it. Does it have? Look, all right.
Morale.
So, this is sight unseen. Is that Ernie Hudson or is it Danny Glover as the black guy?
It's
what? I don't understand the question.
There's a black guy in the movie opposite of Bill Murray. Is the actor Ernie Hudson or Danny Glover? I can't remember.
I've never heard of Ernie.
I don't know who Ernie
Hudson is. The black guy from Ghostbusters.
Then I have heard of.
I know Danny Glover. I don't know. You could probably find out.
I thought somebody had it pulled up. I thought that was what was happening.
I can look.
I don't know shit about
I don't want you to look.
I'm gonna look.
I don't want you to look. Wait, so Kyle, so it is a morale improvement move to fly an elephant into Vietnam. It is. They drop off the
child when I watched this. I could have been more than 9.
The synopsis,
because Vietnam has elephants there. You wouldn't need to deliver it. You could just go get one.
Circus elephant. They're saving. They're taking it back to where
elephant population in Vietnam, Taylor.
Oh, I mean, I don't want to get in the nitty gritty of it. I better not even say anything. You know, the breadth of my. You know how I know they have elephants is because the Vietnam civilization, Age of Empires 2, has access to battle elephants, so they must have elephants.
I'm gonna give you guys some bad news. There's less than 100. Vietnamese elephants.
I think you're making a lot of assumptions about how many elephants I want to be in Vietnam.
Yeah. Well, there's one more than you're used to because of Bill Murray and Dan.
I don't know. I didn't want to disappoint you if you were thinking thousands of Vietnamese elephants out here.
Maybe I think 100 is too many.
No, they have a shit ton of elephants. It's Vietnam's best kept secret.
Fuck. Like after that war, like the fact that the Vietnamese are just chill, like they're just good with us about the whole thing. That never made sense to me because like.
Are you sure that's how it is?
Yeah, I've been told that like they don't mind a bit. They love it when we show up and do our American stuff.
I made a friend in Vietnam. She said she loved me a shit ton of money.
Yeah, get drunk, fuck your women. American stuff.
Everything's fine.
Yeah, you just go over there and you make a big scene and you order lots of food at their restaurants and they just love it.
It is. I don't know about that, but it is the place that a lot of I'm going to say a handful of people that I knew spent their COVID because the rent is so fucking cheap and you can basically just get a giant villa for like $500 a month and like
wow.
And it's beautiful apparently, but also
very a good deal.
Yeah,
and it's also like Vietnam.
Oh wow!
So it's nice and warm. Good weather, pretty rainy, I would imagine, but
I've heard
not cold.
89. They said 76% of Vietnamese said they had a positive view of the U.S. Well,
or else.
What about? Did they have a one that shows their view of the French and whoever else was in the Vietnam War?
Everyone gets to bully the French. Those poor guys. They won so many wars. They won so many wars over the
most wars.
The most wars. And
they are the winningest
you guys. Yeah.
Well, are you giving them credit for World War II for winning that?
No, we're giving them credit for everything. Napoleon
all of it before that.
Napoleon fought all of Europe like 3 times, maybe 5 times.
France has won 1,115 battles. The United Kingdom is 1,105, and apparently the U.S. is 833. Not really sure how many we've actually lost.
Though we got to pump up those numbers, but we're new to the game.
You're right. Yeah. In 250 years, we've done almost as well as they've done in a century.
right?
No. Wait, a millennium.
A millennium.
Fuck.
But this could be one of those sports things we talked about because we could be counting.
Well, we deserve a hand then because we're just Americans.
Yeah, you're right. Wars were a lot easier to win nowadays, apparently.
I think we're just the best at it. We are literally the best at war that there's ever been. Okay, the amount of money that we spent. Oh, I love it. I get goosebumps when I watch a video.
Well,
and
we're definitely not the best at war. We haven't won one in a
we're
long
been
so
losing a
the
couple
best
wars.
at war.
We're the best at breaking things.
We're the Montreal Canadiens hanging our fucking hat on World War II era wins.
we weren't even like
We have become
Major
Uncle Rico. We're like, damn, back in high school, I used to be pretty fucking sick at winning wars.
Fall over that mountain.
It's like, sure, Bob.
Actually, the reason the last one we won is World War II is because that's the last one we even cared enough to fucking win.
We didn't even put it's like the U.S.
No, you didn't win
basketball.
Vietnam. We quit. Same as Afghanistan.
We just sent our C team to every single Olympic basketball game since the Dream Team. We just stopped caring. Got better things to do.
The thing is, like, how do you declare a win? You know, on a modern battlefield, right? Like, shouldn't it be like accomplishing your objectives?
I bet it depends how they count victories. Because, like, if back in the day it was like
I thought we went to Afghanistan, for example.
That's big.
I thought we went to Afghanistan to get Osama bin Laden.
Wait, is it battles, wars, or tours? It's because like the Battle of Donetsk or whatever, you know, there's like been 4 of those. So are they like racking up wins here, or is it like?
I feel like that's cheating because it's
Right.
you're still
It's
battling
still the
over the same
whole war.
place. That is the battle.
What about Crimea? Does that count?
Finalizes? Is that
Like-
that's still going on? Right? We can
Right, but would you
Crimea,
put Would you put a point in Russia for annexing it at the start? In that, like, what constitutes a win?
I think it's in.
It seems like they won
in
that
civilization,
battle.
we
So
went
far,
to the
that would
game,
be
but
Rome.
not the war. They
Right,
might have
you did say
battle.
battles. Yeah.
Yeah.
The war's still ongoing.
Very complicated. We'll have to get some expert.
I would like
opinions on
that.
this.
All right, that's the next guest. I'm gonna find us a fucking historian. I love that shit. That's what we need. I want a guy who knows. Whenever we get to one of those, why do you think the Germans did that? I want a guy who, well, Kyle.
Here's what I want. I want
Yeah,
Taylor to
dude,
correct him,
was
filled with
constipated.
confidence and no facts all show long.
I want
Oh,
to
I can do
only
that.
ask him about areas of history that he's not familiar.
He's
Like he'll continue to remind me that he's a World War II historian, but I want to know about Babylon so bad. Like,
so the gardens over there, were they sick or what's the deal with them? He's like,
yeah. In relation to that whole thing, where were the Hanging Gardens? Like,
was that really the hidden conquest of Germany to get to Babylon? Like,
I
yes
think
or
it
no?
was. I think
Yeah.
you draw everything back to it. It's like that's interesting. That's interesting.
I've been watching Netflix a lot lately, and I found a nice little series. It's like Vietnam in HD. It's like a 6-part.
I was
thing.
watching that right before we started the show.
Really?
Like
What is
right
this?
before first episode. It's great.
Vietnam in HD, and it's narrated. They tell the story of Vietnam along with historical footage as well as like on the scene footage shot by soldiers, accompanied by historical reenactment, and they mix it all together in a way that it's really, really good. I watched all 6 parts.
Is it as good as like the Pacific or?
Oh, it's not like that.
Well, it's not like that. It's not like a story, from what I can tell. It's just like a documentary where they have actual color HD footage. There's a lot of really intense gore that happened right off the bat in it, so that's really upsetting. But yeah, it's not like you're
A lot of
following a
stories.
specific guy the whole way
Like-
through like you are in the drama.
Sometimes
specific.
you are though. Like they'll have. It's not like there aren't actors. You're not following a story. It'll be more like there's some Vietnam vet and he's telling you the story and reading and you go back and forth. So they'll have like a professional. The whole thing is narrated by Michael something or another from Dexter, like the main guy from Dexter, and they've got other celebrities voicing some of the
Yeah, a guy
the
from
younger
Sunny is in it too,
versions.
Dennis.
Yeah. And they're like voicing the younger versions of these soldiers, but they have the old guys there too telling the story. They're talking about like Hamburger Hill and stuff like that. And after watching that thing, I learned a lot about Vietnam I didn't know, and it was really depressing to watch. All the wasted, I think 58,000 dead Americans. The ratio for the longest time was like 12-1 North Vietnamese casualties to American casualties. So God only knows what it was by the end of the war. We must have killed 500,000 of them. And they went into they covered the war completely from start to finish.
Isn't that? I feel like America learned a thing from that too. Like, we lost Vietnam, but we had a 12-to-1, KD ratio, for lack of a better term. And I don't know. Do we still do that? I don't know. Maybe we didn't.
Well, what they keep reiterating in the documentary is that it was a war that wasn't fought for land or territory. It was fought for body count. And so in that way, it was sort of a war of attrition. It was never really going to end, especially when you couldn't go into Laos and Cambodia and get to the heart of the trail and the heart of where the ammo dumps were, the food dumps. Late in the war, in this series, they talk about the excursions into Laos and Cambodia, 30,000 Americans going in at once in a coordinated effort, and the supply dumps they found with tons of rice and tons of ammunition 7 miles into the Cambodian border, because they were just waiting on the Americans to leave Vietnam so they could make the final push, and then they did. They crushed the South. It was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. If you like history and maybe you feel like you're a little bit ignorant about Vietnam, and that's how I felt in some ways. I knew the basics, I knew the broad strokes, but this thing was pretty detailed. It's 6 episodes, they're roughly an hour long each, and I definitely learned a lot. It was good.
I feel ignorant on Vietnam, and I think I can explain why. When I was in school, right? So I was born in 73. I'm 41. So picture me at 7 years old in the Vietnam, by the way, ended in 73. So it'd kind of be like teaching the Gulf War now, right? That thing's 7 years old-ish, right? What was it, 10 years old? You don't really have that historical perspective, and it's a political topic. And Vietnam was way more of a political hotspot than the Iraq War is. So I would ask my teachers, why did we get into Vietnam? And I remember he's like, oh, don't even get me started. You don't want to know. You're a history teacher, asshole. I asked you why, I literally didn't know why Vietnam started. There's a fake boat sinking or something.
Yep.
They don't teach it properly. They don't tell people this is why Vietnam started. This was the true motive behind
fuck all
it.
that. Fuck all those. Fuck the public education system. If you want to know, I promise you, this little this documentary will teach you everything you know. I had all the same questions. That it came down to communism versus democracy, and it's another little.
They should teach that in public education. They should be look, they lied to the American people, and they said that Vietnam attacked our naval ship. But the truth is that they felt like the Soviets were expanding communism country by country, and we were, fighting communism. It was a proxy war between the U.S. and Russia, but, Vietnam soldiers. Say that, if that's the deal.
That is the deal.
Yeah.
And I've watched a few I watched another one last night. There was a PBS thing that began telling the story at the invasion of Iraq, and the end of the story was ISIS, and it was a PBS thing, and that was really good. They made Bush look like a real fool. The whole, the way the war was planned, and they basically said that at no point was the mission to get rid of the insurgents. It was always about containment, and that's why they were in these big bases. It was they really dug the thing apart. They pulled the generals who were in charge apart. It was really good.
Who was good at containing the insurgents? Saddam Hussein.
Yeah.
It turns
They
out...
explained where the insurgents came from. They're like, pre-war, the plan was to leave the Iraqi military intact, the Iraqi army intact, and then all of a sudden the decision was made to send 300,000 men home unemployed with weapons and the know-how to use them. And then 3 weeks later the bombing started. It's just it didn't make sense.
Bush is one of the worst presidents in the history of mankind. He was just super, super bad.
And the guys under him were fucking scary, evil motherfuckers. They kept saying how Rumsfeld kept asking, when are you guys gonna wrap this thing up? When are you gonna wrap this thing up? And they were just like, Never. like, don't you understand what's going on the ground, sir? Like, we don't have the, that was really good. That was really informative to watch.
What was that one? What are these called? Say again.
So the
Vietnam in
one
HD.
Vietnam in HD, and then the other one's not on Netflix.
is
right?
called Vietnam. The other one is on Netflix. It's a PBS. It's probably under the recently added tab. Hang on. I'll pull it up exactly in just a moment.
Oh, I actually watched that one about a week ago too.
It was good.
I didn't realize how little I knew about Vietnam.
Yeah,
I
that
heard
is a
that
little
in
cheating.
Vietnam, that medals got much easier to earn. It was part of like a morale effort.
And
Oh.
there were way more people, percentage-wise, who were injured and wounded, right? Than World War
okay.
The
II.
amount of time that they were in combat was
Yeah.
way more. Yeah. So I'm sure it was both. I'm sure they're like, hey, we don't have any bonuses or beer, but we got medals. Can we go home if we get a medal? Oh no. We're gonna
you
need
sure you
heroes
can't
for the
get
fight
beer?
ahead.
But also,
Yeah,
you
people
get heroin.
protest. Okay,
American War.
American Wars.
No, like Napoleon's fucking champ.
That was a
right?
cool war.
You gotta go back to that.
He was the champ.
He's the champ.
Yeah.
Like he conquered Europe, and they were like, "Oh, get out of here!" And he's like, "I'll do
He
it
became the
again."
king of Italy at one point, just throwing another W in the mix.
You know what they did to him after he like slaughtered all of Europe a couple times? They gave him his own island to retire on. Like what the fuck? Like get out of here!
Yeah, they
Come
banished him,
island.
if I'm not mistaken, right?
Banishment
like
to his own private island with like a castle on it. Like
It's
he
like a
was good.
war hall of fame that he got to go
Jesus
live
Christ.
there.
But yeah,
Uh,
I'm sure they've got or not. I don't know if they're democratic or not. Probably, but they're
Who
definitely on. They're capitalist, right?
Yeah.
And they seem to be on team us. It's interesting. I always hear that when Americans go there, they're like, "Hey,
Don't shoot.
They're-
cousin."
I had to look it up.
Welcome back.
Vietnam is
chill.
a socialist republic with a one-party system led by the Communist Party. So that's
But-
pretty.
That doesn't sound good.
I mean, to be
No,
fair,
but
That is an L.
I'm down with that and
That is an
all.
L.
I get that, but I also say that most communist countries or quote unquote communist countries have no choice but to engage in some form of capitalist trade with capitalist countries, So
Sure,
they're
I'm
like
going with that.
functioningly, they're capitalists, but in regard to oppressing their people, they're socialists.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
But if
sure,
all it takes to like qualify as capitalist is like some form of trade, then every nation is capitalistic.
That's a good point. Yeah. I was thinking more of like the global market of exchanging currencies and things as opposed to, them trying to be self-contained and we can take care of this ourselves. But that's a very
Yeah.
good point. I mean, bartering is bartering. It is a part of all trade systems.
What surprised me, the third largest weapons exporter on the planet is South Korea.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't
know
US,
that.
Russia, then South Korea.
It's
Apparently,
us,
they
us,
got
Russia, and then South Korea.
yes for export.
South Korea's probably going to be ahead of them this year.
Ahead of Russia.
I think I heard that too. Yeah, because
It's
Russia's
exports.
not exporting anymore.
Yeah.
they need their guns.
And South Korea
Yeah.
apparently makes really good shit because they South Korea and North Korea have been prepping for war for 70 years. Their stockpiles are enormous. North Korea tends to go with huge stockpiles of shitty stuff, and South Korea tends to go with smaller stockpiles of more high-tech stuff, which is why their exports are interesting.
Yeah, Europe's arming itself right now. Poland in particular is building the biggest military in Europe right now, and they're buying they're buying a mix. It seems like they're like, I like the South Korean radar jammers, but I love those American planes. You got any of those South Korean body armor? That's the good shit. They're like taking they're I'll take some of this and some of that.
Yeah.
So they bought a bunch of stuff from us, and I know they bought a bunch of stuff from them. And when I say a bunch of stuff, they're buying like $300 million worth of shit at a time. It's great.
They should buy from every country. They should play every side, so they always come out on top. Have a little bit of Russian stuff, a little Korean stuff, a little American.
So the
stuff.
reason they're not buying Russian stuff is then you
Well,
become dependent on Russia to maintain your shit. And if they're the people attacking you, you're in a tricky spot.
Come on, Matt.
I thought Russian shit was super easy to maintain because it's like
need parts.
older and like
You need parts though,
mechanical.
right? So like the Russian, if you have a whole fleet of MiGs and Russia and you're going to war with someone who's an ally of Russia, even like one of the stands or something, then Russia will be like, oh, no more parts for your helicopters. And something like a helicopter that needs all that air maintenance that needs new whatever the fuck and new rotors
Oh,
or whatever. Yeah. It's like we need those or we can't fly them. The US did that to Iran back in the day. Iran had a lot of US planes, F-14 Tomcats, I think. Like, oh, wow. Good luck
Shit
with
out of
that.
luck.
You got about 500 more operational hours before they all need an O-ring that only we make, and immediately they just had a bunch of junk.
Tanks too. Apparently it's super common for tanks to get damaged but not destroyed. So, you just haul them back, fix them, put them back in service. But if you don't have parts, you're in trouble.
Tanks are so cool.
Formal warfare.
At the start of the Ukrainian war, there was a conversation about whether tanks were obsolete because they kind of seemed that way. It seemed like they were super expensive and hard to make and just a big investment. And it wasn't that big a deal to break tanks. But as it's carried on, it turns out you need tanks.
It's been the war continues on. I really hope that it just never ends. I'm a big fan of the war. Fan is the word. Fan is the word.
Bad news for you. At this rate, Ukraine takes all their territory back in just 67 years.
So,
3 feet a day.
Eat your heart out, Korea.
Is nothing moving over there now?
So
67 years.
All right. The short answer to that is yes. It's not moving very much. The long answer is Russia has a lot of their defenses kind of stacked right up on the front line. And Ukraine is making progress at piercing that front line, but very little. But you can't say what I just did, which is, it's going to take 67 years to reach the sea. Because once you really properly penetrate that front line, then you can pick up miles per day. And that is the way it's trending. But slow start. But then, once you break through, you can probably get all the way to the sea. Anyway, so they're kind of breaking through. Let's hope that turns into better land gains.
Let's hope they stop funding it with all of our money. That would be great. Maybe spend a little here for our people.
Yeah, that's not what they'll do. That's not what they'll do at all. They'll just do a tax cut for corporations or something.
Yeah,
that's what they did before.
Money well spent. Into another proxy war.
Loving it. This is our fate. This is the best proxy war we've had. Maybe
you're
ever.
Crazy.
This is better. This is like Afghanistan 1 when we were given the stingers to the Mujahideen, the gallant men of the Mujahideen. And those fucking Russians came over.
Yes, and Afghanistan panned out so well.
I mean, not for the Russians.
Yeah, Taylor, I don't think anything ever went wrong.
Don't bring up Afghanistan 2 when I'm talking about Afghanistan 1.
I mean, it's a series.
Bringing up 9/11.
That's Afghanistan. That's why
you're crazy if you just want to fund this shit forever.
Against the common advice, I have forgotten 9/11, and it was a really good idea to fund the Afghanis.
Yeah, we should fund this as long as they want to fight.
You're crazy.
It's beautiful. It's a great thing. No Americans are dying, Taylor. It's just it's just pennies. It's just pennies, not a big deal. Yeah, pennies, Don't worry about it.
Enormous sums of money.
Tiny amounts of money in the grand scheme of things.
It's so much
it's
money.
Kyle's right though.
Here's how I think of it. Not only are we, because our weapon systems are doing so well, all those countries around the world who are seeing the planet a bit destabilized right now are like, give me $1 billion worth of American shit. Give me $2 billion of it. So we're selling lots of weapons right now, which is a great thing.
Wait, your problem was that the money wasn't going to go to American people, but it goes to Halliburton and Lockheed, and so it's like good now.
Yes.
So wait, you wanted it to go to American people, but now that it goes to American people, you're not happy? Come on,
those aren't American people. Those are
some are.
Giant
they make the shells in Alabama,
companies.
Taylor. They make the shells in Alabama.
Why don't we fix our fucking roads and get universal healthcare?
They make the shells in Alabama, Taylor. Do you care about? Oh, now it's big business and infrastructure, but the poor sumbitch in Alabama that's making artillery shells.
Give me fucking healthcare.
He's getting triple overtime. God damn it, Taylor. This is great for our economy, which needs it right now because we're about to slip into that recession they've been talking about for half a decade. It's wonderful.
But this time it's real.
This time it's real. We promise. The economists scream, and I don't know anything enough to disagree. But this is wonderful, Taylor. Like our enemies are bleeding. All right. So think about it this way: we were already going to spend X amount of money on, say, national defense. That's based on the threats around the world, right? We're like, we need to be able to fight a global war on 2 different oceans, right? That's been our military mantra since World War II. Every day the Russians get weaker as a military. That means we don't need as big of a military anymore. Now, I'm not saying they're going to cut the military, but if a war were to pop off between us and Russia proper, man, it's going to be a weakened Russia. It's going to be a weakened Russia. They look bad in front of their allies. It's easier for us to make deals and bully China and when little territorial things because
None
their
of
ally
these
Russia
are
looks
tangible
so shitty and they're
games for
preoccupied.
Americans, though.
Tangible. You want tangibility and like geopolitics? This is fun. This is James Bond shit.
No, we want better roads.
You know, they
and
sent a
healthcare
commando
and good
in
shit.
on a jet ski the other day, and he got
Yeah, we
did.
could do that at like a fucking show off the
that guy's
coast.
ass right now. It wasn't our guy though. That's the best part, Taylor. It's their guys. They just want some spending money.
I can't believe you guys are still in favor.
I love it. I love it.
Long.
I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
wait till we really start giving them cool shit. I'm glad the Abrams tanks are about to arrive that they've been training on for a whole fucking year. I can't wait to see that. One's never been destroyed by a hostile like fire.
I think
never
they've
even happened.
arrived.
Well, I want to see them on the battlefield. I want to see. I've
Okay,
already seen
yeah.
propaganda of like burnt ones on the battlefield from
Can't you
Russia,
just
and they're
watch
like
movies? Like in
movies. They don't have Abrams in
cool.
movies. They dress up chieftains and
Oh,
stuff.
I watch
wanna-
combat footage.
Yeah,
Movies.
but
This is great. I don't know what your
not a
beef
very
is.
good ROI.
You
It's
don't like
the best
American
ROI
dollars
ever.
actually getting some
it's
some
not.
work done.
We spent it's like 3% of our defense budget goes
That's
to
so
Ukraine. Like,
much
it's
money.
a tiny amount. But it's like compared to our defense budget, it means nothing. And it's not like we're giving them new Humvees. We're giving them Humvees that we would have otherwise sent to like police or just mothballed.
What were we going to do with those artillery
20-year-old
shells, Taylor?
Humvees that were
Who
going
are
to
we
be
going to artillery strike, Taylor? Who?
We could have spent it on something else.
Taylor, we're giving them artillery. I'm just
It doesn't.
saying.
Yeah, I don't. I feel like you're locked
we have
up
a
and it
system
has to
right
go to the
now.
army.
They make them in Alabama. They make the artillery shells in Alabama, and they make the fucking anti-tank rockets in Alabama. And there's a dude in Alabama named fucking Pete or some shit, and
Cletus.
he's got double overtime because we're funding Zelensky, and I like
We're
that.
printing money, and inflation is ridiculous.
What's new? It's $33 trillion. Did you know that's the deficit?
It's going up every day.
Trillion.
More than ever
know,
in a
yeah.
day. A couple
No one
days
cares,
ago.
though. That's made up money. A trillion's an impossible number to even fathom. I don't care.
It's
At some
definitely
point-
real money. it's
I don't think
inflation.
it is. I don't believe it is. I think once you get to 33 trillion, we're at the point where everyone knows that, like, hey, if we were to actually try to make the U.S. pay, we would just start some sort of a global war with us, right? And then they would change just like press delete and ask if we wanted peace, right? I think it'll be okay, Taylor. Make it 35 trillion and let's kill some Ruskies. It's kind of like Apocalypse Now, but then you get through the first half and you're like, oh, there's 52 more minutes. Oh no.
I've never
the
seen
good stuff's
Apocalypse.
already over.
I
The
had
first half at Camp Lejeune or wherever the Marines go is good. Camp Charlottesville, whatever y'all do. But then they go to Vietnam and it's like, oh shit, it's Stanley Kubrick's Vietnam, which is like depressing. Even when they win the big battle at the end and they get the sniper's a teenage girl who's like fighting for her homeland, right? She's a little girl dying and like coughing up blood in her last moments. And they're like, oh yeah, we got her, the one that killed Big Bob and Little Mike or whatever. And it's like, yeah, it was just a little girl like hiding.
Yeah,
in
it
a
was just
tower
someone
fighting.
with a rifle trying to fight back.
Yeah,
That's pretty
it-
fucked up. Have you? It reminds me of that
awful.
movie. Doesn't what you're saying reminds me of it because I haven't seen Apocalypse Now. Full Metal
Oh, no,
Jacket.
not that's what I'm saying.
You're saying Full Metal Jacket. It
I
sounded
thought
so
this
much
happened
like it
and
to
I
me.
was
Yeah.
wrong. I was
Okay, so I have seen Full Metal Jacket, and there is no movie that in the first half I'm like when they're at boot camp and everything, I'm so invested, I'm so in, I'm rocking and rolling. It's awesome. The
amazing.
second they go to Vietnam, that movie turns into a dog turd. It's
I
boring
turn it
as
off.
shit. I remember watching that movie the first time and like
Well, you
getting
gotta fast forward to him
3/4 of
getting
the way
blasted.
through and being like, what happened? We were rolling, and now we're doing nothing in Vietnam, and it sucks, and I don't care. They set the
Yeah.
anchor point of what were going to be the concerns early, and then they dilly-dallied on that too long, and it made it so I was no longer invested in the other plot points that I was supposed to be invested in
and
by
look,
that point in the film.
And look, I've watched some YouTube videos about what Stanley Kubrick was going for there and all the symbolism that's present.
I'm
in
going
the
to make a
second half.
shitty movie in this.
but what I wanted, especially when I was younger, when I got there, I was like, all right, fucking Joker and the boys are like, I don't remember the what they said, but they're like fire hardened and battle ready or whatever the fuck they said, like man born again or whatever they said. And it's like, fuck yeah, we're gonna go to Vietnam and fuck some nips up and get some goop blood on us or whatever they were gonna do. And they
Yeah.
get there and it's like,
All the Asian words.
Yeah, all of them, nips and zips, and they get over there, and it's like, man, there's no glory to be found here. It's just like gruesome, and like I remember right away the one guy's like posing with the dead Viet Cong, and it's like, oh, so off-putting, and like there's no glory to be had. Even the guy, there's the guy shooting the civilians out the side.
Which one is this we're talking about now? Where are we going?
It's a Full Metal Jacket.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we've been talking about the whole
You're
time.
talking about the second half before. The trashy.
Yeah, the second half in Vietnam. He's shooting the M60 out the window, and it's women and children in like the rice paddy fields, just farming. And the guy and he's like, get some. And the guy's like, you kill women and children? How can you kill? He goes, sometimes. How can you shoot women and children? They're yelling because they're in a chopper.
Yeah.
He's like, it's easy. You just don't lead them so much. Fuck. And that's like his introduction to. He's like flying in, right? Yeah. Like to the shit. And it's just like one depressing thing after another. Stanley Kubrick wants to completely deflate any idea you had that Vietnam was some heroic cowboy riding in to serve some justice up to the bad guys. It's like, no, war's
He's
hell.
like, Fortunate Son wasn't even played once. Not once.
Yeah, that's a real downer. Apocalypse Now, on the other hand.
Yes, is that worth watching? I have not seen it.
Apocalypse Now is what's funny about Apocalypse Now as a movie is like that's a movie where they got Marlon Brando to be in it, to be like the main bad guy, and he was like, okay, but I'm not wearing pants the whole time. And they're like, okay, we'll shoot him from the waist up. And he's like, yeah. And you can't light me. And they're like, what? He's like, I have to be in the dark.
What?
Yeah. And he's
so is he like, he's always sitting?
Yeah, he's not lit up. He's in the dark.
So
is the pants thing like an old tale, or is that?
And he was like really bad at knowing his lines in other movies. So like in Godfather and stuff, he like looks around as he talks, but everywhere he's looking, there's copies of his lines pasted behind the camera. So he's actually looking at his lines because he's bad at remembering them.
Oh, that's true. A little addendum though on the on Apocalypse Now. The reason that he's in the shadows and dark.
Oh yeah,
his face. Taylor, the man showed up 50 or 60 pounds overweight.
I think it was more egregious. I think it was like over 100. I think it was like 100, 150. They wanted it was supposed to be this handsome young actor, and he was like the biggest, fattest monster.
So his character. So here's the premise of Apocalypse Now. It's a really good premise. Martin Sheen is a lieutenant or something like that, and he's been in Nam for a while. He's been the shit. He's battle hardened. And his superiors are call him into a meeting, and the meeting has a lot of like A-list actors later on.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. This is stacked. Lawrence,
this is a great movie. You're actually lucky. I'm going to rewatch this movie.
And they tell him in this meeting, like this top secret meeting, we want you to go into the shit. This colonel, he's one off the reservation. He's over in Cambodia. He's working with some kind of crazy stuff. He's not obeying orders. He's killing this. He's killing that. He's not listening to reason. And he's like, so you want me to go in and get him, bring him back to you, bring him to the real world, something like that? He's like, no, we want him gone, eliminated. They want him to kill him. They're sending him on a seek and destroy mission against their own colonel. And so he has to go on this Lord of the Rings-esque journey, sort of like, because he's like off the grid, right? He's not regular army. He's not anything. He's a man being sent by the CIA and maybe the Marine Corps to go take out a colonel. So he's like, sometimes he's with like those guys on the boats, that do the river patrol. And then he's in they're like one of those shows where the Playboy bunnies came and like put on a show for the soldiers, and like he's making his way through country to get to the colonel. And the colonel again is supposed to have been off the reservation, badass colonel. Now he's got like his own Cambodian hit squad, and he's been living in the jungle on fucking rice, beans, and fucking hate for the Communist Party. And you get there, and my man has put on some masks. They light him,
the bad kind, right?
They light him with flickering candlelight, and he's sweating profusely. So much so that they must have been dousing him with water, or it's the sweat of a very morbidly obese man in actual Cambodia, I think, or Vietnam, wherever the fuck they were. They went.
Yeah, so it's humid as shit. It's Southeast Asia.
It's pouring off of him when he delivers his lines, but it's still, he's such a good fucking actor. He kills. I remember the horror. It's so good.
You know what he used to do also?
It's like
real
3
quick?
hours
he,
long.
He used to show up on
There's
set.
3 different versions.
He would show up on set, and his first take, he would purposefully not act that well. And if the director was like, okay, and they were too intimidated to tell him what the fuck, he gave that level of shitty acting the rest of the movie. But the first day, if he did his take and you were like, what? No, you're going to have to do better than that. He would be like, a real director. I'm going to work for you. And then he would give 120%.
Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
You know what the worst dragging scene is?
You don't
in the
watch that
movie?
movie.
It's that Mel Gibson movie. Soldier. What is it? It's that Vietnam Mel Gibson movie. We Were Soldiers. It's about the formation of the the helicopter cavalry and Nam and how they flew in, and it was like great movie. But there's this one scene where they this guy's calling in napalm on the enemy, and he calls it in wrong, and he hits an American, and the guy gets fucked up, and someone tries to drag him out, and he grabs. I thought it was his legs that he grabs, but anyway, when he pulls from the legs, like the flesh just comes with his hands, like it's like the skin and the fat just like gets like drug off the bone, and the guy's like, oh god, and it's like all in his hands, and the guy on the ground is just like, ah! That was rough. That was a rough fucking scene. Like
that was a great movie though.
Yeah, great movie. It's a true story. It's fucking like I don't remember I remember just the broad strokes, but it's like it's like 300 Americans and several thousand Vietnamese or something like that, and like the kill death ratio at the end of the day was like outrageously in America's favor as it was throughout the war, but especially here. It was good.
It was interesting little eye opener about the Vietnam War, right? Like the military, the United States military, kind of prides themselves like, look, we won every battle. We admit we lost the war, but that wasn't our fault. It wasn't that we were getting beat by the Vietnamese. Our politicians just decided to stop because we won every battle. It's like, oh, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, like if it was just like if they went to the American general and were like, actually, at all costs, take it. They'd be like, all right, all right, we'll bring in the rest of the military boys, like I guess, but yeah, it does. I mean, at that point, it is, but that's like moving the goalposts a little bit because it's being like, if the rules were totally different and war didn't happen the way war happens, we would have won. It's like, yeah, well, it doesn't.
It was that you had, commanders that fought in World War II in Korea, and all of a sudden they're really being handcuffed. They wanted to bomb in the north. They wanted to bomb the industrial part of North Vietnam. They wanted to bomb where their leaders were, and they weren't doing that. They're just bombing a bunch of poor people on the Ho Chi Minh Trail. Like you hear the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and I think maybe some people think that was a road or like a double highway. Like it's literally like a trail through the woods that we're dropping like tens of millions in ordnance on every day, and like trying to deforest jungles to stop. Like we were just really handcuffed there. That was a shitty war. 50,000 dead Americans, and we killed a lot more Vietnamese.
Yeah, that was a shit war. I assume. Glad I wasn't around.
I wasn't even around. Like I think so. I was born in '73, which I think is the year the war ended. Like I think they're the same year. So I remember this. I asked my history teacher in like 8th grade, right? So this is how old are you in 8th grade? 13 years old.
Yeah.
And so this is like 13 years after the war ended, and I'm like, why did the Vietnam War happen? And he looked at another teacher, and they're like, ho ho ho. Yeah, well, that's kind of it. What was the Vietnam War about? Yeah, am I right? And she's like, yeah. You fuck! You're a history teacher at school. I'm asking you why the Vietnam War happened, and all you can do is huff and puff and smile slyly at your fellow teacher. You fucking worthless fuck!
That's just like saying like, we understand, but we won't tell. It's our little secret.
Yeah,
you'll have to go read a book. Like,
I just like. I don't know. I like, give me anything. What was the official reason? The whole stopping communism thing. You tell me about the drummed up thing. What was it called? The Gulf of Tonkin, where we pretended the ship was sank, but it wasn't really.
That's correct.
And there's things he could have said, but he couldn't have been more worthless. And I still look down on him, especially because he was a history teacher.
That's pretty weak. Yeah, Saving Private Ryan wins. The real question is, what's the best Vietnam movie ever made? Because you could go back and forth between Full Metal Jacket, Platoon, Thin Red Line. There's a lot of really good Vietnam movies.
Definitely not Full Metal Jacket.
I think for me it might be. I liked it more than Platoon.
I liked Platoon more than Full Metal Jacket if you talk about the whole movie as an aggregate. Like, because Platoon never hits the peak of Full Metal Jacket's beginning, but Platoon maintains better throughout, I think.
I agree.
Whereas the really good part of Full Metal Jacket is more than undone by the really bad part. So, like,
I agree.
net, it's lower.
Yeah, you guys have the popular opinion. I liked the second half of Full Metal Jacket more than other people did. I also agree that it dips, that it's not as good as the first half, but I thought the second half was interesting too.
You shoot women and children? Yeah! How can you shoot women and children? It's easy. You just don't lead them so much.
Is Forrest Gump a Vietnam movie? Does that count as a Vietnam movie?
I consider that as well. It's such a small part of Forrest Gump, though. You know, it's such a crazy, like, spanning the breadth of, like, that golden part of, I suppose, of American history. You know, it covers so much shit.
We all know, but Born on the 4th of July is the top Vietnam movie.
Yeah,
that was awful. That was hard to make it through. You haven't seen it?
No.
They had high aspirations, you can tell, right? It's like a 3-hour movie, 3.5, I don't know, super duper long. And they really wanted to make something that was great. But for me, it just drug on. And
I forgot a couple. Apocalypse Now. You ever seen Apocalypse Now?
I'm sure I have. It's the plot's not.
I'm sure I've seen it. I don't remember much.
It's where Charlie Sheen's dad goes behind enemy lines to get a colonel who's gone crazy, played by Marlon Brando, who's like, I think he's maybe in Laos or something like that. Like, he's across the border. He's gone crazy. That is a very good Vietnam movie, and it's weird. The Deer Hunter.
I've heard of that, but never seen it.
You're missing some very intense shit if you haven't seen Deer Hunter. There's a scene where Robert De Niro and Christopher Walken have been captured, and the Vietnamese are keeping them in like this. They're like on this bamboo shelter that's in the river. They're like above the water, and underneath it, in the water, chest deep, or maybe even like head deep, and they have to like tread water and hang on to shit, are De Niro, Christopher Walken, and a bunch of the other GIs. And the Vietnamese above bring up 2 of them every now and then and make them play Russian roulette, and they bet, and they're hold them at gunpoint. I don't know if you want to watch that scene right now, but it's one of the best fucking scenes ever.
I honestly don't want to watch it because the way you're describing it, I want to see the movie now. It's just called Deer Hunter.
The Deer Hunter. And now to be fair, that scene's the best part of the movie.
Well, then I don't want to watch it right now.
The rest of the movie is a little meh, but that scene makes it a great Vietnam movie. Now, another one, you probably forgot about this, but my personal friend, Mel Gibson, made a little movie called We Were Soldiers.
Ooh.
I've never seen We Were
You
Soldiers.
haven't seen that?
That is
was
one
a
of
good
the
movie.
best military movies of all time. It's also got that guy with that fantastic mustache, whose name's escaping me. He was in Big Lebowski. He was in Tombstone. And he's like Mel Gibson's second in command. I believe it's about the first major battle of the Vietnam War. And it's also like one of the first battles that the air cavalry were involved in. And Mel Gibson is the commanding officer of this air cavalry unit or whatever. I don't know like military jargon as far as like the unit sizes.
Oh, this one with Sam Elliott, the Marlboro Man guy.
Yeah.
Okay, I saw this a long time ago.
Very good movie. Very good.
I agree. Yeah, I really like that movie. And you don't know, I don't know my history that well, so I didn't really know how it was going to work out. I don't know if we're going to win, we're going to lose, who's going to make it through this thing. No, look, like you know how.
No, that's fair.
The war, we all know how it goes, but the battle, like I don't know the battle. I don't know how that's going to go. And
I agree 100%.
It was fun to watch. I like.
Yeah, you know, a good like all-time war one. If we're just talking about all-time, was Downfall. Have you guys seen that?
About Hitler, yeah.
It's a German movie, and so you have to read subtitles.
You know, I'd like to see a Vietnam film.
Yeah, not very many of those.
Yeah.
It's a good Vietnam movie.
Have you seen The Thin Red Line and Platoon
Yes, but I want to see a new one because I feel like when Platoon came out in the 80s, we were still in the afterglow. It'd be like making an Iraq War movie now. Like, no, too soon. I need you to make an Iraq War movie like 30 years from now when we properly reflected and look back on the thing for what it was.
And some of the cooler stuff gets declassified.
And cooler
and
stuff
when
gets
the actors are going in like, aha, look at all these weapons, and they're like, and they just take them out.
That'd be funny if it turned out that they really found like millions of liters of sarin nerve gas and like rockets filled with VX aimed at like neighboring countries and like and they just snuck all that out and like swept it under the rug. Someone did. I don't know who would stand again.
Yeah. When did Full Metal Jacket come out? That was a movie.
Yeah, that's Stanley Kubrick. I don't know when that came out. I really don't.
Was it the 90s maybe sometime?
No.
I think it was 80s. Maybe even like late 70s.
Yeah, it's late 70s,
87.
early 80s if I had to guess.
87.
Okay. They I like the first half of that movie, and I don't care for the second half. Like when I like Boot Camp, when they actually go to Nam, I don't like it.
I like both. I like the first half more, but I like both. I like the whole movie. I want to see a Vietnam movie with the reflection of 2014, 2015.
Yeah, I'd watch that. I like war movies in general. We Were Soldiers was pretty good. That was a pretty good Vietnam movie. You see that with Mel Gibson?
I have not seen that.
Oh, I did see that. That was pretty good. Yeah, it starts off with a little religious talk, and yeah, that was good.
Yeah, it's about the cavalry. Mel Gibson is like a captain or something like that, or maybe even higher up, a colonel or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they get surrounded. It's a true story.
Basically,
really
they get helicopter dropped into a field where they're gonna engage in battle, and the enemy was much bigger and much more formidable than they had expected. And they, so then they get more backups, but the other side just had more and more and more. And I think in the end, the Americans did really well in KD ratio, but I don't know. I think we lost that actual battle, right?
We fucked them up that battle. We piled them high. They brought they came.
We
in
lost the
day.
land, right?
No, we ran them out of there and burnt them up.
Is that how it ended? Okay. Spoilers.
I want to say even the end of the movie is them like coming in there with like choppers and just really raining hellfire down on that their like bases and their the village and everything, and then they've got like Vietnamese guys piled like super high, like all the dead, and they leave. I mean, it wasn't.
To me,
really
the end of the movie is they get like helevaced out, but the KD ratio was amazing, and I could be wrong.
Well, they definitely left. Like they weren't fighting for the ground there anyway. I don't think. I don't know what was going on. It's been a while since I've seen it.
I think they retreated and ran away, but got a lot more kills than deaths.
The thing that I remember from it is when they accidentally the guy calls in an airstrike and he calls it in like in the wrong position and he napalms a bunch of Americans, and that was gruesome. Like there's a part where a guy tries to grab another American by his legs and like drag him out, and then like the legs are burnt badly with napalm and the flesh just pulls off of the bone.
Mm-hmm.
Like a chicken wing. You know how some people eat chicken wings to like push all the meat off the bone? Like that happened to his shins. And the guy's just like, "Argh!" And he's just like, "Oh shit, I'm sorry." It's bad. Like you almost laugh, but then it's just gruesome. It's really bad. Napalm was some nasty stuff.
It's like a flaming gel, right?
Yeah. Sticks to you, burns.
Yeah, that's some messed up stuff. Napalm. How can you even get it off yourself once it's on there? Like you're pretty much fucked, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't do anything.
I think you can get it off if you're covered in it. It's the thing, and it sticks to trees. It sticks to everything. It sticks to stuff that
Kyle, I saw you shake it off, right? Like you did.
Yeah,
you got it on your hand. You did sort of one of these deals, right? And flick it off.
Yeah, it was clinging to me like a booger or something. Like it's on there, but you can get it off. Like you know what I mean? It's that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. It's fun to play with, but I would hate to get some on me.
I don't know anyone who.
Terrifying.
I know 2 people in my life who've used a flamethrower. Kyle's half of them, and both of them are like, no, given the opportunity to use one again right now, No, thank you. Not that I regret doing it, but I have the experience. I feel lucky to have escaped mostly unharmed, and let's call it a win.
That's exactly how I feel. I would do it again, especially if I was paid to do so, but I would not volunteer to do it. Like I said, if there were some guys out there playing with one, they're like, "Hey, your turn." Nope. you take my turn. I'm all good. You pull the trigger and it feels like your head's in an oven. It's just so fucking hot. The one I had was leaking everywhere, dripping on me.
Another common experience.
It was. I had napalm on my hand. I had napalm on my shoes. It was dripping on the ground, and like there were puddles of napalm. I was having to like walk around and stuff. It was a real thing. And they wanted me to wear this goddamn like gorilla mask for the video too. I was like, it's gonna melt to my face. No, it was not fun.
Yeah, Did you know in the military they wear cotton for that reason?
They wear what?
So, it's my understanding, based on movies, that when they go into war, they wear cotton shirts and they can't wear polyester stuff. And like the character in the movie was like, "Oh my God, there's so much to know," because her husband was deploying for the first time, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that cotton shirt thing though, that's for real because." Cotton, if it gets really hot like that, just tends to get hot or whatever, or it could maybe possibly burn. But polyester, it turns into like a melty plastic, and that's why they don't wear that. So you can't show up in war with like lycra blends and spandex and stuff because it doesn't handle. Yeah, no Under Armour. It doesn't burn properly. Well, it doesn't. It's dangerous in fire.
It melts.
Yeah, and that
sticks to you.
That's a mess for the medics to like help you when you've got melty spandex in your skin. Which war would you rather fight in? All terrible choices. Vietnam jungle, Western Front trenches of World War I, or World War II Bastogne.
Man,
Those
I
are
don't
all
recall.
terrible.
Tell me about Bastogne. Is that the really cold one?
It
That's
was
the really
in Band
cold
of
one in
Brothers.
France,
It's
right?
super cold. They were in snowy foxholes, and artillery would just come out of nowhere and kill some of you.
Yeah.
So
You were freezing to death the whole time, getting frostbite, no supplies getting through the lines.
these are terrible options because like the Bastogne one, if that's the thing I'm thinking about in the Ardennes forest or wherever it was, maybe. I think, like you said, you know, the mortars were coming in, the artillery was coming in, and the trees were splintering and blowing people up. People were getting frostbitten toes and shit. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it seemed like within a day's walk or half a day's walk behind you was a decent sized town with soup and women. But you were out there in that hole. I think I take Bastogne and I fucking desert. Because there's somewhere to desert too. I can fucking hurt myself a little, and then I'm over there with the women and the soup. However, if I'm in Nam, oh my God, forget about the snakes and the spiders and the foot-long centipedes crawling about and the ants. The ants, they always talk about the ants. Forget about you're sweaty every day, all day, and you haven't had a shower in God knows how long. Charlie's out there, all right? You never know when you're going to step in a hole that's full of punji sticks covered in human shit, and you're going to lose your feet. You never know when you're going to get gut shot out there, and they're not going to realize that you're not dead. They're just going to leave you behind, and you're going to wake up and your intestinal cavity is full of bullet ants or some shit. Charlie's out there, and he's coming for you. I'm not doing Nam. Now, the World War I thing, that trench warfare, everybody imagines the trench perhaps as a dry sort of trench. Yeah. The problem was there's a thing called trench foot, which I don't think was even a thing before World War I. They were like, oh,
they invented trench foot.
They invented a new horrible thing to happen to people in World War I think, called trench foot. All right.
Let's see some pictures of trench foot.
Oh, please no. It's where your feet just stay wet for long periods of times, and they basically just rot off your goddamn body. Now, if that's not bad enough, you've got gas.
Oh,
right. You've got mustard gas coming in, chlorine gas coming in, blinding you, scarring your esophagus and your lungs. Shell shock, it is both synonymous with PTSD and an actual thing that happened because there was so much goddamn shelling during that war. You're stuck in this fighting position, looking at the enemy 300 yards away for years, sometimes at a time. People getting stuck in the barbed wire. Depending on what side you're on, like if you're not facing the chemical attacks, if you're a German,
then you never know when the Brits are going to tunnel up under your position and just blow you the fuck up. I'm not doing that. So I'm going to take Bastogne, and I'm definitely going to get shot in the thigh meat on like day one. Like just as soon as they show me my foxhole, I'm going to wait till I can see the medic, and my sidearm is going to go off mistakenly.
It's going to get your love handle. Oh, shucks.
Fucking the Jerry's got me.
It's just a flesh wound, Kyle. Yeah, but I need my flesh. I'll see you in town. What's the soup of the day?
What's the soup of the day?
I'm going to go with Bastogne too. Man, I just feel like it would be possible to stay warm. Yeah, I've slept in very cold before, and if I just get enough of the stuff, collect some coats off the dead guys, you can make yourself a little heat cabin there. Vietnam, it just seems so inescapable. Also, maybe it's just because I'm American and we kind of romanticize World War II. I believe in the cause. You're there, Battle of Bastogne, trying to free a people from being wiped off the face of the earth. Vietnam, what was the cause exactly? Prevent the spread
of a proxy war with the Soviet Union.
Yeah, built on lies, and I'm not getting into it. And World War One, what Archduke of Ferdinand or something?
Franz Ferdinand.
Franz Ferdinand. Why is he my top priority again?
There were a lot of treaties, and that triggered this country to start a war, and then that triggered this country to come in and defend them, and that triggered another country to come in and attack them, and it just became a gigantic mess.
Yeah. It's almost like a schoolyard fight where no one wants to participate. They're all just need to somehow.
No, it's like a hockey fight or a baseball fight where it's like, all right, clear the benches. Fucking Omar beamed another guy. Let's go.
What I like about those baseball fights is like you can see like the guys who are really excited about it who are like, let's go boys, like hopping up ready to go. And then you can see other guys on the team who are like, yeah, let me grab my hat and quick sip of water. Let me take my watch off the bat. And all right, it's already scrum's almost over. I'll go over there and I'll grab the shirt of two of my teammates and go,
Look at Vietnam, dude.
What about
the Gulf of Tonkin?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
They created a ship that never existed and blew it up so we could so we could actually get into the Vietnamese War.
Isn't that a crazy piece of history? That's true.
That's true.
The actual justification for starting the Vietnam War was done up by the U.S.
Wag the dog. There you go. That's a good.
I mean, in World War II. You had, we basically cut all the Japanese supply lines off. We enticed them to attack us. We wanted them to attack us so we could get into the war there too. So we'd have justification.
Yeah, but embargoing your enemy supply line is like step one in
our enemy at that point.
Well, they were the enemies of the entire, in that part of the world.
At that point, we were in a situation where, at that point. Well, we were in a situation at that point where we were doing everything we could. The war was not popular with the American populace, but everyone with any we weren't connected with the media like we are now. The American public didn't know what was going on, and you couldn't tell them. But our government knew how horrible things were going in Europe and how bad things were going in Asia, and of course they wanted the war to start. But I don't know if they let the attack on Pearl Harbor happen, because that was a major blow.
Yeah,
that wasn't
that's
like
a big conspiracy theory.
Yeah, that wasn't like
that's not
the
conspiracy
Japanese
theory either. I mean, they had declassified reports leak out from World War II that showed Roosevelt basically making orders to basically embargo these people to the point they were ready to attack us.
But no. See, we were like halfway involved in the war already. We were giving tanks, we were giving bullets, we were giving. Hold on, we were supplying the Allies, and we were messing with like supply lines and embargoes and stuff like that. We did everything but commit troops. I don't think that's the same thing as inviting them to attack U.S. soil.
No, I agree. Now I have heard some reports about some of the earliest U.S. radar installations were in that area, and them ignoring the radar reports of Japanese planes coming in. But still, doesn't make sense to me. Why wouldn't you react to it and save a few of those ships?
Because
It doesn't matter how many people died. If they attacked,
People
they killed
love vengeance, Kyle. How many times have you watched Death Wish? How many
But
times have you watched?
I just think it's bad strategy. It doesn't make it. Why
But
not
if
try
one-
to get the
if it's
ships
just
out of the
one-
harbor?
Right. If it just one innocent person dies from Pearl Harbor, that's all you need.
Yeah.
And you're
All
good
you
to
need
go.
is like, oh, so apparently the Japanese attacked us today. They sent all these fighters. What are they? If the ships aren't there, then they're going to bomb
Yeah.
the
They
shipyards. They're going to
sent
bomb
all these fighters. They damaged the harbor. They took out half or 1/3 of the ships they would have if they weren't just sitting ducks. And that's enough to start. We're good to go.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. The most impressive thing, and I love World War II as it's a horrible thing, but studying it as a piece of history, the most impressive thing about World War II is how what happened in the United States right after Pearl Harbor. If you look at the shape our economy was in, if you look at where our industry was at that time, if you look at our workforce, and then you see what happened in the next 3 years, it's insane.
Well,
we went
because
from
there was no other. Like the auto industry was bombed to shit in Germany and Japan. All there was American cars.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. No, there were no American cars. We stopped making cars.
I understand that, but we still had our factories intact. So when we brought our boys back, they could go right back to work.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how many ships and tanks and jeeps we built.
Oh yeah,
and how fast we did it. I'm talking about that every man, woman, and child chipped in. And I wonder if that would happen again. I wonder if there were a similar tragedy. What if Los Angeles?
I really think it would.
As horrible as it is, God, that would be inspirational.
Yeah,
wouldn't
I remember,
Dude, so after 9/11, everybody was flying flags on their car. Everybody was dreaming of getting involved. People were lining up at the doors to join the Army, Marines, Navy, and Air Force. After 9/11, the United States was motivated to do something about that attack, and it was nothing compared to World War II. It was nothing compared to World War II. So I think if someone really did an attack like that, the United States would mobilize and have an enthusiasm around a common cause that we haven't seen in our lifetimes. It would just blow away what happened for 9/11. And
my favorite things to watch are the things that are the documentaries and History Channel programs about World War II, when they're like, over the next 6 months, the United States would produce, and they give some outrageous number of like tanks, jeeps, and shit.
Well,
They
can
rebuilt the
I just put
Navy.
this spout out before I get interrupted again?
Yes.
Ford made a B-29 Super Fortress every 59 minutes.
That's what I'm talking about. That shit right there.
They were putting them out faster than the German could put them down.
Exactly. Same thing with tanks.
I like that idea.
Tanks. It took 3 of our tanks to kill 1 of their tanks, so we just made 5.
that's an interesting strategy because now it feels like we're on the other side.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah, but I'm just like this. Like, how many Kia factories would get shut down if we went to war with Korea? They'd be making tanks. Americans would take them over and we'd make tanks out of them.
Yeah, see, the thing about modern technology is, though, we could destroy every Kia factory in Korea. And
Kia factories are here.
It's 10:50 p.m. right now on the East Coast. By midnight, if we wanted to, there wouldn't be a Kia plant left in the world.
I want that power. I want that power.
That's a fact. It just is. There's submarines right in that ocean over there. They could shoot Tomahawk cruise missiles over there. They could shoot nukes over there if it was that serious.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people always call the U.S. this monster and this bully militarily. We're just thumping you, buddy. We're just slapping you around a little bit. We haven't been serious about shit for like 60 years.
Oh my god.
We're being real nice about this thing. We really are. We're not this big bully.
We did
like
take a rack over in what, 2 weeks?
We're like the big kid at school that everybody maybe he's not a nice guy, but he doesn't beat you bloody every day. He just kind of slaps you around a little. Get away from me. I don't like dealing with you. What? I can't have your lunch money? And he just called you some dirty names.
Kyle, big fan of the military-industrial complex.
Big fan. Big fan.
Love it.
My favorite. You ever play a game called Civilization Revolution? I have. Favorite part? Military-industrial complex. I like getting those factories going. Using the Americans, pumping out a bunch of tanks. We're going over to WoodysGamertag's place, surrounding him, putting the artillery out there, just slowly crushing his cities. It's a good time.
Look, it's research. It's people who are willing to go, okay, what
Vietnam?
about this? Ask questions. Well, Vietnam is. I mean, okay,
That one I
Vietnam
feel
is
like
very,
is
Vietnam's very similar. The Gulf of Tonkin never happened. That's why we went to war in Vietnam, was because supposedly a Japanese submarine attacked a ship in the Gulf of Tonkin, and we're like, they got the country to go, yeah, let's kill them.
Did we sink the Lusitania too?
Oh, right.
We sent it into those waters on purpose, though.
I've heard that.
I have no idea about that one.
I've heard that before that we sort of sent we sent ships into danger, knowing that at one point or another they'd get one, and it would be just what
you got
we
the
needed.
German U-boats like cutting off England from any supplies, and then you send a fucking passenger ship right into the shipping lane.
And then I heard the Lusitania did have stuff on it, like military supplies.
Well, okay.
Like we
Operation
were
Northwoods.
doing what they said.
There's look up Operation Northwoods on a Google search, and you'll find it was a plan by the U.S. government during the Kennedy administration, and Kennedy was the only reason that it got shut down. It was a plan to basically do what they did on 9/11, which was they wanted to invade Cuba. So they concocted this plan to take passenger jetliners and replace them with military drones and attack U.S. targets, so that people would think that it was Cuba coming after them, and in reality, it was America coming after itself, so America could invade Cuba.
That's I didn't know about Operation Northwoods, but there's a Wikipedia page on it, and
it's been declassified. It's real shit.
I've got a lot of Googling to do.
And I don't, like I said, I don't mean to just be like, I want to be spiteful.
No,
because
this is fun.
and it is. It's really interesting, and it's fucking. I'm always just trying to find new shit, because it is. It's almost like a living soap opera, because it's interesting.
Don't you think Bernie Sanders wouldn't do this, and Trump and Clinton both would?
I think they all would when they're shown the secret room.
I think John F. Kennedy wouldn't do it. John F. Kennedy wouldn't do it, and
apparently not.
He was rich enough to refuse, bribes or whatever. They couldn't buy him. They couldn't buy his brother.
And brave
they just
enough.
did away with him. They just killed him.
I mean, the guy had been in war. The guy's ship was sunk. He swam back home or something ridiculous like that. Saved some other dude.
PG 109. He was like I guess he was captain of that ship. There's a lot of, there's a lot. There could have been some embellishment on that story.
I've heard some of the details were romanticized.
Sure.
Having said that,
his dad did a lot with that. His dad was a rich guy, and his dad did a lot to get his son into office.
There's some core stuff in there that everybody agrees, which is like the boat really was sank. He really did have to swim for quite some time, and it was a scary thing that might have made him look at some threat from the mafia in a different way. Like, the mafia, dude, I've seen some shit.
He was he kind of was almost like Tupac, where he knew he was going to die young. And so he was his favorite poem was Rendezvous with Death. He just kind of knew he'd been sick. He had Addison's disease. He was in pain every day. So he knew something was coming at some point. He knew he was a marked man. There was actually a plot in Miami, I think 3 or 4 days before he got shot in Dallas, that got shut down.
That's why he lived every day like it was his last.
Yeah.
Yes.
Little Marilyn Monroe reference right there.
He actually
terrible life advice.
He actually had a conscience. I mean, he delivered a speech. It was like this.
Not when it came to women.
He delivered a speech at of course, but his wife also was. Well, I didn't see she's okay with it. She just looked the other way. But he delivered a speech at American University where it was just you could see that he had just come around to the idea of peace, and we shouldn't be into this arms race. We should be in a peace race. And it was a really, really powerful speech, and it's like you can tell that did him in. It was like him wanting to work against people who made money off of, war and, there's people who put money in. They invest in both sides. It's been going on since World War One. There's stock people, fucking Henry Ford, guys like that who just fund both sides, and it's like, whichever one comes out, I come out ahead either way, and those are puppet masters. Those are people who are just at the top. And
how do you become a puppet master? I'd like to apply for that gig. It seems like you wind up just fine. Can I invest somehow in both Syria? No, I'm sorry.
Nobody's fucking with you.
Turkey and Russia.
If you're a puppet master, if that's your job description, you're living well. Because nobody's gonna fuck with you.
Can we all agree that we've been to the moon?
Nah. You know what? I've heard differing stories. In some ways, I believe that we have, and it's different from the story they gave us. And then I also believe that, it's possible that we haven't, and they staged the whole thing. I don't know. I don't trust the official story about anything.
I wish that they could get the telescope technology good enough that you could see it.
It is.
It is good enough. There's pictures online.
Oh, mine's not good enough anyway.
There's ones that
I have a decent telescope. I mean, it was literally hundreds of dollars.
See, there's actually people who seem to. I mean, they feel like they have evidence that basically the moon isn't the barren rock that they've made it out to be. That it's actually it's like a little Earth almost. Like where it's got water, it's got grass, it's got an atmosphere, and it just
really because
that's just
I don't think that's true, and I'll tell you why.
Way that it's a little Earth up there.
I feel like if you had,
I'm with you on a lot of these.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying
I feel like
my telescope's not worth hundreds of dollars, but I have a $3,000 rifle scope, and I can see the fucking craters.
Yeah,
people up there.
Yeah, my telescope is
or
good.
Atmosphere.
It's a Celestron.
I don't know.
It's a Celestron 5.
I want
to
read about that. Like, what's the theory that it has?
There's a it was a documentary on YouTube that I want to say was about an hour long, and it was about basically it was just like saying that almost like the sort of the puppet masters, the power elite, are keeping the moon as almost their separate safe haven to go, like another planet that they can use up because we're fucking this one up, and they don't want to tell anybody about it because they don't want to get crowded.
I think that one might be false.
It could be.
I want to get crowded. But, like I'm just going to show up with my spaceship.
But they make a good case. But they make a good case.
But I can see it from my yard.
But the thing is why believe the official story any more than that one?
Because here's the thing. If what you're suggesting would require one of three things, either the base is on the dark side of the moon, it's underground, or what we've been looking at for all these years is some sort of hologram technology. But we've been looking at people have been like drawing the fucking moon for like hundreds of years. So like that one's out. And the dark side of the moon will be all dark and cold. And I just
dark side of the moon. You're basing your evidence on the dark side of the moon on what?
What evidence?
I mean, what do you know about the dark side of the moon?
I know that it would have to be cold there.
Forgive me for being stupid. Does the same side of the moon always face us?
But all of your evidence on the moon has been given to you by essentially one source.
But I can see the light side of the moon.
It looks light up there. I mean, it does, but it's I don't know. I'm not a scientist, so I don't know.
Yeah, but there's a lot of scientists out there who, like, I would say they're pretty set in their ways. Like, there's no way that every astronomer out there they're like, hey, you just keep peddling this, that other side of the moon, it's a fucking fantasy land over there. It's crazy. Like, we already have a second Playboy Mansion built up there. It's gonna be great. You guys all get a spot.
moon,
Just
pussy.
make sure that all that you tweet about is how great weed is and stuff, and don't mention anything about the moon. You know, like, if it looks like a moon and smells like a moon and has for hundreds of thousands of years,
I think it's more like
that's
the moon is
too
made
big of a conspiracy.
I've maybe
more
yeah
like
okay.
that it's
Maybe
made of
I've gone.
cheese.
Maybe I've gone further down the rabbit hole than I
No.
need to. But I'll say this: this is one train of thought that I thought was very interesting. Was all of this shit does sound crazy. It just does. It sound because most people, you know, we just want to get along, man. You just want to, you know, get through the day. You want to, you know, eat well. You know. Find somebody to love and be. You just want to get through life. You don't want to fuck with anybody. You don't want to be fucked with. And all of it sounds crazy to the average normal person. But the people who are doing these things are fucking insane. I mean, they're out of their minds.
I don't think that any of it sounds super, super crazy until the moon thing. Like, the rest of it is like, there's enough people out there, you know, that like they're.
Yeah, I'm
find
with Taylor
out,
on that
out.
actually. So like building 7, right?
Find out.
I don't know why. Like these buildings are stone and glass or cement and glass, and then the flames somehow jumped across the street and made it burn straight down. It just defies my uneducated logic. JFK and the magic bullet and this and that and the bad gun. There's enough questions there that I think, well, maybe.
My biggest question with that one is, hey, that shot's real hard to make. Like you're telling me one guy did all that shooting when it seems like it makes a lot more sense if you place at least one more shooter either on that grassy knoll area or maybe in a drainage thing or in a different building or in the same building right next to shooter one.
A thing that I spend a lot of attention to, a thing I spend a lot of attention to, a thing I spend a lot of attention to in all aspects of life and business and whatever is I look at motives, and there are so many motives for the JFK thing, like whether it be like a Cuba thing or a mafia thing or whatever.
He wanted to end the federal, the Fed.
Sir.
He wanted to get rid of the Fed.
Yes. So like there's so many motives out there, like the JFK thing, maybe. The 9/11 thing, I don't know, especially Building 7. What was the other one? Oh, Vietnam. Vietnam one's actually the Pennsylvania flight thing. Like the timing all works on that. Even if 9/11 was everything they told us it was, you know, attackers from the Middle East and more, we could have still shot down the Pennsylvania thing as a legitimate self-defense measure and just not wanted the political repercussions of making a hard call like that. And then, but the moon thing, you're on your own there. That one's
and I understand that. And I mean, if you ever get, because I believed that we landed on the moon myself up until maybe a year ago.
What happened to you?
I just started going down the rabbit hole, just looking at stuff like, you know, whether it started with JFK. I was a JFK buff at first. Yeah. Then it went JFK and 9/11 and the moon and fucking Watergate. and it's like, holy shit, this world's fucked up. And it really does. It kind of, it brings down a lot of your images, but it's interesting, and for somebody who just, I've gotten to a point where I'm aggressively pursuing knowledge, just because I like to know about the world I'm in, and I love history, and I love to.
You know what else adds? You need to find a way to harness your celebrity. Get in on one of those White House. What do they have? What the press dinner? You need to get in there, and you need to just get a sharp thing and just get Obama and be like, "Tell me."
He doesn't
Make him
know
talk.
shit.
He might.
Yeah. Comedian John Caparulo tragically falls downstairs at White House.
It'll be less believable. Falls upstairs.
Shouting, the moon's not real.
Do we know where Dick Cheney's hanging out these days? Maybe in some sort of sulfurous volcano or something like that, because he probably knows. I mean,
yeah.
Here's a better question that I didn't think I would be asking, but which one have you researched of all these theories that you researched it and then you found out, like, not of the ones we've included, but you just came to the conclusion of, okay, this is not a conspiracy. This is actually what they reported. Like anything like that that's jumped out at you?
None of it. It's like it really. It's all
plausible.
It's like it's like okay. We're all kind of just given a set of facts. Like you have this TV or whatever, your newspapers, whatever, that sort of control the information that comes into you, and they, you base your opinion on those events based on that. Now, if those institutions are controlled by the same people, which they largely are, then you have reason to suspect, well, why would they do that? Well, would they have something to gain by doing that? And like I said, I don't claim to know. It's like the whole God thing. I don't claim to know what happened in any of these things, but I do think that the official versions are bullshit. And I don't trust the people giving them to us anymore.
I think it's not, for a lot of these, it's not like everything they give you is horse shit and it's all the other way. Like, I think there's quite a bit of, if these conspiracy theories are even, calling them conspiracy theories, already puts an aura of like craziness on it,
Yeah.
Kind of like an othering. But there is like a gray area, I think, where it's like, with 9/11, like, there was some suspicious stuff on that for sure, which is why it's been such a big deal with the conspiracy theory people. But it's not, I don't think that everything would be false. Like, the best way to lie to people is truth and then a little bit of lie, like a full-fledged lie. You're not going to convince as many people as like leading them along with truths and then you sneak something in at the end, Like, it just seems like if they were trying to trick you, they would include a lot of truth there to lead you up to it and then accept it,
I feel like, and I don't mean to be on a soapbox about any of this. I'm sorry to cut you off. I think you guys are three. I mean, from what I've gained over the past 4 hours, you guys are intelligent guys. So if you ever decide that you want to take the time to look at this stuff, I think you draw your own conclusions. But I don't think you would think that way if you really said, okay, I'm gonna get into this shit.
That is possible.
Here's the thing.
So I'm with you on 9/11 and JFK. I think I think there's something there with 9/11. Something, I don't know what, but something doesn't smell right. The JFK thing, I think there's definitely something bad
I'm
that
with you
happened
there.
The moon we definitely landed on, although we had plenty of reasons to fake it. And I watched this whole documentary about how they would have gotten what's his name that did A Clockwork Orange and 2000 Stanley Kubrick to fake it. And I've watched all that shit. And I believe Stanley Kubrick probably could have pulled it off pretty well, but I don't think he did. I don't believe Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster or any of that shit. But when it comes to big governments or those in power, perhaps manipulating the public, we've seen time and time again when we do get to see a little peek behind the curtain that they are up to shit like that. False flag operations have been going on. I mean, the Nazi Party was started with a false flag operation. They set a fire in the Reichstag. They blamed it on fucking communists, and that was a key moment in the rise of the Nazi power.
Operation Paperclip. You ever hear that?
I have heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we started the CIA.
Well, did we win or lose Vietnam, Taylor?
We lost.
That's not very patriotic of you to admit.
Then we won badly. It was a Pyrrhic victory.
It was a tie.
Yeah, no, we got beaten Vietnam.
Yeah,
pretty good.
But we had, we lost 50,000, and God knows how many they lost.
We won every battle.
I'm gonna guess they lost 500,000 to our 50,000.
Most of them weren't Viet Cong though; they were probably civilians.
Yeah, and some of them were only a few months old.
Yeah. You see that horrible picture of all the naked kids running away from Agent Orange, that kind of stuff?
Well, Agent Orange is what stripped the leaves off the trees. You're thinking of napalm.
Oh, well then napalm.
So total deaths 1.3 million. Agent Orange strips the leaves off trees so that they can see the guys in the undergrowth of the jungle. It's a chemical compound that caused severe side effects in our veterans. Allied military deaths 280,000. NVA /VC 444,000. Civilian deaths, both sides 627,000. Yeah. So 1 million died, and Allies lost 280,000. I didn't know it was 280,000. I think
That
50 were
seems
us.
really high. Oh wait. Then again, you think 50 of the
I
280
thought
was American?
50,000 Americans died.
You still think that?
Yeah,
So who else in the 280 died?
I'm looking for that now. I would guess. I know the French were there.
Weren't the French there before us? Were they there at the same time?
It says 58,220 U.S. military fatal casualties in Vietnam.
Maybe the other allies were the Vietnamese who were on our side.
North Vietnam was supported by the Soviet Union and China and other communist allies. South Vietnam was supported by the United States, South Korea, the Philippines, Australia, Thailand, and others.
And maybe a lot of those were South Vietnamese.
Yeah, I guess so. South Vietnamese soldiers who couldn't be trusted, the bastards.
You gotta kill them too, because reasons. And Kyle, these people also made upwards of $5 a day and were a threat to America.
Were they?
These are indisputable facts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our own intelligence agencies told us.
Yeah, I'll tell you. If first Vietnam falls, next thing they're rolling into Atlanta.
That's so funny when on Fox or CNN or something an ex-CIA, which are you really ever ex-CIA, will be like, nope, these people are dangerous and we need to be over there and we need to do it. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, this guy would probably know.
This
and then
guy's straight
if
up.
we watch RT and it's like, now today we have KGB agent Viktor Vladislavich Davidov. And he says we need to do this in foreign nation because they are very scary people. And he's like, oh, yes, the most scariest. We'd be like, propaganda. Yeah.
I love that argument of yours. And actually, it was enlightening for me. Like, I think I was a sucker who would listen to a CIA person and be like, well, no one knows more than this guy, but now it's
the difference. The difference is the CIA guy may be being told to say a thing, but he's not being forced to say a thing. And
you really think the CIA doesn't force people to do things?
No, I don't think the CIA forces its retired agents to go on Fox News and say things. However, I do think that the fucking Russians probably do force some people to go on the news and say things.
I don't know. I mean,
you think that CIA agent is literally like, I know, honey, I had to say those things, but they were going to kill you if I didn't. The CIA was going to kill me? Yes. I can see that playing out in Russia, but not in the United States.
I don't know. The scorecard of how many governments destabilized by the KGB versus the CIA, CIA is way in the lead.
Yeah, we're good at our jobs.
All right. I wasn't prepared for that. You're right.
I mean, extending America's reach throughout the world. I'm happy with that.
Just ruining South America. Yeah.
I mean, do you really want competition down below? I don't think so.
Competition in what? They already have all the best beaches and shit.
No.
I was reading about this recently. Gary,
you saw the Olympics.
What were they beating us in the Olympics?
No. The beaches in the Olympics. How polluted that shit. Remember how polluted Brazil was?
Yeah, that's true. Brazil's they haven't done a very good job making it nice.
Gary Webb was so I guess what happened was the CIA put crack or something in the in some communities, and Gary Webb was an investigative journalist who outed it, found the CIA guilty of spreading drugs in America, and it was kind of a bad thing. So the CIA killed him, claimed it was a suicide, 2 shots to the head. Right?
Yeah. Lots of stories like that with the CIA.
That to me was a fucking flex. Like, oh, do you want to report on the CIA? 2 gunshots to the head, suicide. I can't imagine a 2 gunshot to the head suicide. That is I think you're not supposed
bang!
I think you're not supposed to believe it. I think you're supposed to understand that you don't fuck with the CIA.
No, but maybe there is a system where you work for your citizenship, right? Like I think military service would be a good one. Like we're always complaining about that one, right?
So I like that idea.
To send us somewhere though.
We're
always getting involved in wars. We don't want.
No, they're not sending us somewhere. They're sending them somewhere.
Here's my thing. A volunteer army should have motivated people in it though, right? So let's say I'm a volunteer soldier, right? I'm a regular American. My dad was a soldier. My grandfather was a soldier. Now I'm a soldier. And you stick me with some in
scripted almost.
Oh, they get their own squads.
No, you just got to make sure they're worth it. That's all, right? Like I've heard that the volunteer guys in Vietnam didn't really like working with the drafted people in Vietnam because they had a different mindset towards the war. So I'm just trying to apply that to this.
Could that have gone better or worse if we had done these changes? How would Vietnam?
It would have gone better if we bombed the North. God damn it!
Yeah. We didn't bomb North Vietnam.
No.
Am I stupid? I thought we bombed them all the time, and we
Cities.
drove by with
Cities.
helicopters. Oh, the cities.
Where they were getting all their weaponry and where they were storing everything, and where they actually were, rather than trying to hit a bunch of ants walking down in a jungle path somewhere.
Would have killed a lot of innocent people hitting the city, though.
We would have. I think you're trying to say we would have demotivated the population. I agree.
You're right. It would have
The quotes go on the outside of both words, by the way, in case you didn't follow. Innocent people, not innocent people. Innocent people.
I get it.
It's a little hard to follow for some.
Did you guys have any parents in the war? I only say this because my dad was in Vietnam. My birth dad was in Vietnam. He was an old geezer.
Mm-hmm. Damn.
My family fought a different war.
Wait, so your birth dad was
Cholesterol.
definitely older then, right?
Yeah, he was born in 1954.
Okay. Yeah, that's 10 years older than my dad. My
And,
dad was not old enough to fight in Vietnam.
Okay.
My dad was. He lucked out and didn't get his number drawn, so he didn't have to go.
Well, that's lucky.
And my grandparents got some exemption from World War II, or my great grandpa got an exemption from World War II. One of them for flat feet, which I guess they were like, you can't go. And the other one because he was a farmer. And I guess at the time they were like, all right, you're called up. And they're like, wait, no, you're a farmer. You're growing that. We need you to keep growing. Go grow that stuff.
That makes sense.
You don't participate. You go back to your farm.
If the farm's going to shut down without you, you stay on the farm. That makes a lot of sense.
Keep the farm.
Do you have any idea what he
was tricky, right? They're like, oh, we don't want to lose our good citizens. This guy's a farmer. You keep doing that. We need you to make food. I think my father didn't go, at least partly because he was in college. If you were going to college, we don't want to lose people like you. We'll send these guys who are worthless.
Married,
but married, yeah, parents. I don't know. I'm not positive about married. I'm definitely positive about parents. And
only sons couldn't. Interesting. I bet they changed that later on. I bet they had different policies as the war went on. That's how you end up with stuff like McNamara's Morons, which should be a movie, by the way. It's that rolls right off the tongue. McNamara's Morons coming this fall. McNamara's Morons was this army program to utilize those with IQs below 85 in the military industrial complex. The idea was, come on, you can find something for them to do, right? And it turns out,
how'd it work? No, bad.
No, because you can't teach them the basics. A lot of them couldn't read or write. So then you can't.
They cause more problems than they can even.
They can't read road
to
signs, so they can't drive trucks. Okay. Well, you can't. They can't even peel potatoes. It ends up because we're going to hold your hand and get you to the place where you peel the potatoes, and then hold your hand every night back to your bunk and walk you through all the regiment. Boot camp is all sorts of fucking polish your boots and tie your shoes shit. They're not getting any of that, ever.
Jordan Peterson talks about this all the time. He says it like it's amazing. Really? The army doesn't want you if your IQ is below, it might be 85, 73. I forget what the number
83,
is.
I think.
83, okay. And he says it again and again, it's really important to have an IQ over 83. And I'm like, this isn't groundbreaking or amazing to me. This is quite obvious.
Yes.
It helps to have a higher IQ.
Yes.
100%.
I mean, again, if you can't read or write, you're going to really struggle. Because everything's going to be labeled. Like you can't be a clerk. You can't do any of the behind the scenes clerical shit. There's nothing for you. You'd be in the way. You'd be.
I feel like Russia would use them. Russia has these
wave attacks, right?
Yeah, right. They call them meat waves on YouTube anyway.
Dude, I probably are right now, right? Like I know that it made news for a while when they would pardon a particularly nasty criminal to go to Ukraine. They're like, I think it was a cannibal that they freed. It's like, damn. And I wouldn't be any more afraid to go to war against a cannibal than the rest of the Russians shooting AKs at me, But it speaks more to wait, they're just gonna let this guy go. But then I was like, he's not ever getting home. he's not ever getting home. He's going to die in Ukraine.
Oh yeah, they kind of made sure of it. They give those people the most deadly roles.
Yeah, up front and personal. And I mean, Taylor, we went to Afghanistan obviously to get Osama bin Laden, but like the whole thing was like Saudi Arabian money and Saudi Arabian actors and maybe like a Yemeni or two, but like
Afghanistan just supplied the jungle gym they trained nearby.
Yeah,
like the tires they put their feet in as they got in shape.
They had 7 tires and a pull-up bar and fucking 20 years of occupation. We should have never let them do dips here.
I remember. Do you remember? And for those of you who don't get that reference, like we were fed this same news footage over and over
again
of guys wearing like black get-ups, like with AKs on their backs on monkey bars in the desert. And I remember thinking, even as a kid, like, well, wait a goddamn minute, let's not overreact. They're on monkey bars in the desert.
Yeah. Why are we using cruise missiles when angle grinders will do?
I remember as a kid seeing those videos, and I had no conception of what was up. Like I was in my young teens, but I remember watching and being like, "Damn, those guys are preparing. They get on the jungle gyms with all their guns, and then they run through those tires, and then I guess they do the jungle gym again." There's only 2 things. There's only 2 things here. These guys have a tremendous amount of spryness and upper body strength at the very least.
I mean, you just watch like, well, you'd see like the background footage with like the military vest and like a couple beat up white Toyotas zooming around in the background, and people like 8 people in the back, and I was like, yeah, that looks like a lot of personnel. And then they'd immediately cut to like the shock and all night vision like clips of like a barrage of rockets flattening a city block, and you're like, I just seems a little disproportionate, but I'm 7. What do I know?
Oh yeah, and they're like, we gotta lock in on 8 terrorists.
Yeah,
we're playing Foursquare. Just like blow them up.
I watched it. There's a great video. It's on YouTube, all over the internet, I'm sure. And it's like an Apache gunship or something. They're watching.
Oh, dude, we lost to this. we straight up lost to these hopscotching, leapfrog playing.
If we had made war more fun, it would have been better, but we made it too serious. That was the problem. We lost the fun of war.
We won every battle. We just lost the war.
Yeah.
What are you, the end of a Call of Duty search and destroy? We may have lost the battle, but not the war.
I believe that. I believe that happened in Vietnam. I believe that happened in Afghanistan. I don't know how to measure Iraq.
Korea was the last real loss we took, in my opinion. Korea, what happened?
Not Vietnam?
No, because we decided to lose Vietnam. Korea, the Chinese came and kicked us out. Like we lost Vietnam because we didn't want to. It's true. It's a story.
I'm waiting. Listen to make his point.
We lost Vietnam because we decided not to win because the public weren't supporting the war. We didn't want to use the tactics that would have allowed us to win, like bombing the North. And they spent all that time deforesting the South and fighting in jungles against Viet Cong, and we won. We still won every single battle. Like we decided the war was just not cool anymore. And so we stopped doing it. Korea, on the other hand, we got made to look like fools by the Chinese.
But not in Vietnam. We didn't look foolish.
No.
Do you know what the KD for Vietnam was?
Doesn't matter. We lost.
I don't see it that way. We don't play the objective.
We played we don't play the objective.
I'm just saying this is a very hindsight 2020 American History Channel take where it's like, actually, we took our ball and went home, so there was no battle. It was a draw. And you could also make the case that they lost support for the American public for the war, but isn't that kind of part of maintaining the war? Is you have to make a case as to why you can rationalize that sort of spending to the public, and they can no longer do it. And so, if anything, we should have got out of there earlier.
I don't know what that has to do with anything. I just think that's a war that we chose to lose. If we wanted to win it, I mean, why don't they start dropping nukes on the north part of the country, right? Or send 1 million men over there, or just keep grinding them away with bombs. We never bombed the north. I always go back to that, but it's just the truth. But in Korea, like the Chinese just came down and just fucked us, just fucked us all the way back to what is it, the 38th parallel or whatever? It was a humiliating loss.
What do you mean? And I'm sure you can educate me on this. So we didn't bomb, we didn't napalm in Vietnam, North Vietnam.
Oh, so I'm talking about the cities and infrastructure in the north, in their capital. What was the capital of North Vietnam? Is it
Hanoi?
Something like that.
Ho Chi Minh City.
They didn't bomb up there the way that the generals wanted to bomb. I think it was a political decision. I know a lot less about Vietnam than I do Korea, though. Korea is fucking wild.
I don't know anything about either.
The Chinese sent like a million. So
I did an 18-page paper on the French involvement and the American involvement in Vietnam, and let me tell you, this dude named Odarn Westad wrote a large book, and I read it all, and I retained very little, but it didn't seem like he thought we won. So Odarn Westad, he was pretty adamant on the L we held. No cap.
Have we had a really big, like, no one can deny victory since World War II?
I think that was like, and also we kind of just stole the show there. We didn't really put in a lot of legwork.
That is true. We basically showed up like way far into it, and the UK's like, "Oi, bruv, we can't afford a war anymore," and we're like, "We'll loan you all the money." If we
and you
can
gotta
own
pay
you
it back,
forever, bitch. Yeah, and then we went in, and I mean, without America, they couldn't have won, right?
No,
No. They definitely could, because the supply chain. It was basically like, everybody was making a tank an
I feel like
hour.
we're forgetting about Japan. The Germans would have fallen, I think, without U.S. military intervention at all. I don't think we needed to send a single troop. I think a lot more Russians and Brits and French would have died in the long run. But I think that they could have won without us probably there. We definitely needed to keep sending them money and materiel, though. But I don't know what happens in the Pacific if we don't island hop across the biggest ocean in the world and just fuck shit up the whole way. The Pacific is the coolest part of the war. Everybody
principally attacking. Like, it was the rape in Nanking. Like, they were going to mainland China. It was that the biggest of their focus there. In the Western theater.
They had 7 to 8 million troops scattered throughout the region at the time of the surrender. So there were guys who had been away for so long they didn't know what had happened back home. Like they came home to rubble. They were all over the region, though, from the Philippines to China, and like butting up, getting close to Russia. They had conquered an enormous swath of land there. But if you look at their reasoning, this is getting real History Channel and boring. I'll stop.
No, I was engaged. If you look,
I'm interested.
Well, it was like a video game, right? Where you're like, we don't have enough iron. Like we just don't have it. Like when you play Civ, sometimes like you just don't have iron or oil or wood or whatever. And it's like, all right, well, I'm fucked. I might as well quit.
That's why Russia's so good. They
or I could go take Woody's fucking wood. Woody's not even looking. All right, bow. Woody's wood is mine, and that's what they did, like sweeping across the region.
There's your mistake.
They needed oil.
Stop playing with his wood.
They needed oil.
My notice.
They needed oil. They needed timber. They needed rubber. Like they needed those things, and they didn't have them in the amounts that they wanted them.
Well, maybe we'll get them next war.
We got him last war.
Maybe we'll round two.
No, not World War II. I was talking about the whole scope
Vietnam
of wars.
too.
Instead of Afghanistan, next war we'll bring it home. Bring home the gold.
I think you're wrong about this winning wars thing. I think that we have
loser talk.
Sounds like somebody who's been beat back geopolitically.
Hi, I'm an incel, and I think you're a little hung up on it getting laid.
It's just like all right. So we were at war with the Al Qaeda, right?
Yes.
I mean, we got the guy that ran the thing. Isn't that a W?
I mean, we won that battle, but not the war.
Oh, now it's battles and wars.
I guess it depends. You know what we need to do? More clearly define achievable goals, and then if we achieve them, call it a win.
I really agree.
Yeah, but when you can always,
I agree with you.
But when you always change your achievable goals, like if Russia's goal was to, conquer Ukraine in a blitzkrieg in 4 days, and then they change it to just to secure like Donbass region east. Like, does that make it a loss if they ended up with a net positive but didn't achieve their initial goals? Like, it's gonna be hard because it's really the only people that get to decide if you win or not are the people that are involved.
Yeah, I think after Vietnam or during the talks to quit Vietnam, it was like peace with honor or something like that. Looking for a way to say, all right, we're fucking done, but not look bad at the same time.
Yeah,
there's a picture of an American GI with his pants down, ass spread. It's okay. They're all elderly now. No one's gonna care. They don't know YouTube's around.
Those were American heroes.
They gaped their ass for the U.S.
Dude, I feel bad for those guys. Like they must have gone into it like, we're gonna come back like our uncles and parents and we'll be heroes because they saw World War II and everything, and then they come back and like people spit on them.
Yeah,
which is like
call them baby killers.
And think about that. You get torn out of your life, drafted, forced to fight a war that you don't want to fight, and then you come home and people spit on you, and it's like you're a trash person. Like that's just wild. And they knew at the time they got drafted in, right?
Yeah,
like, everyone knew.
Yeah.
Oh well, no, not everyone was drafted.
Yeah, but
a lot of them were.
Had to be
some people may have joined because.
What did they do to incentivize joining before they could give out Camaros?
You know, because I just a day of the year, and every male born in a certain year on that day had to go in the next few days and register. So they'd be like, April 6th, if you're born in April 6th between 1948 and 1952, show up at your local,
that's awful. I'd shoot myself in the foot.
You didn't know that? That's how they did it. Lotteries. So like five lotteries. Different birthdays would come up every couple weeks, and if you were one of those birthdays, you were going to Vietnam.
No, there's no way.
A lottery number. I didn't realize it was birthday based.
Birthdays.
I didn't know that until I read about it. It's interesting.
My dad told me some story about that once because he's 1953 in April, and he was like, I think maybe he said it was the day next to his day was like one of the came up, and it was like, and I'm like, I asked him once, I'm like, would you have gone? Would you have gone and to Vietnam? And he's like, there was no question. If they come and they load you up in a truck and they fucking take you. Like what am I gonna do? Go to Canada? I don't know anybody in Canada. This is my home. Yeah. So you go.
I want to read this. 2/3 of the U.S. military who served in the Vietnam War, and more than half of the names on the wall, volunteered for duty. The other 1/3 were drafted primarily into the Army. Beginning in 1969, draftees were picked via televised lottery based on the date of birth. Okay.
A third.
Yeah.
Catch me sitting there with my boys drinking heavily, waiting for them. Like, come on, this is the worst Powerball ever.
There were a couple ways to beat the draft, right? One was like
the Ted Nugent.
The Ted Nugent. He literally pooped himself. I made him seem crazy, and they didn't.
Listen, I would
There's
feel
the
confident.
Donald Trump, where he had a doctor that was a friend of the family who said that he had bone spurs, right? So that was a way. But another way was to go to college. And then, if you can get accepted into college,
I'm not getting
student deferment, stuff like that. And I think there was another one too, but there were a couple ways to dodge.
Probably some family-based stuff that made you less likely, maybe.
There was a family-based one, but to Woody's point, I was going to bring up the other one because that's how my grandpa got exempted. If you were a farm worker who was like if you worked on a farm and like did stuff like livestock raising or like. And you were deemed to be like indispensable to the running of that farm.
You were part of the war effort.
They took you out of it and were like, you are worth more working on this farm, raising cattle or raising livestock or raising crops than you are with the war effort. And so he got a notice about that.
Where I was headed with that is it became kind of class based. Like some of these things, going to college, working on a farm, owning a farm, like it's the unemployed. It's the
we send our poor to die.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't just poor. Like my grandpa didn't own a farm. He just was a worker on a farm who, like, he was 22 years old. He didn't have running water.
Taylor,
like it was just an amount.
You're invalidating my argument.
Oh, sorry.
We don't want your anecdotal evidence to the contrary of Woody's point.
But yeah, there were some, maybe being a parent. I'm not sure about that one. But yeah, there were some class-based things that let you avoid the draft. And like Tucker said, we sent our poor to war. So probably won't do that again. I think we're a little more hip to that.
Eventually we will.
Every country in the world sends their poor to war. The next time we need to send people to war, it will be poor people. When it's time to snatch people and draft people, the same thing will happen. It will be poor people. There will be ways to get exemptions, and the poor won't be able to come up with them. It'll always be that way. It has always been that way for all eternity.
Kind of point. Like that's why that's large reason of why the army is built off of like reliable pay, food, and housing. Like that's like it's like, oh, you can't get it elsewhere. Well, look at this. It's not good, but like you get it. So all the way back.
I hadn't looked at it through that lens, but I so completely agree with you.
That's another reason why I say we've never lost a war.
Housing. Those three: reliable food, pay, and housing.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally like, don't people point to a lot of like repeat offenders as a reason for them to go back to jail with nonviolent crimes is to have a structured place like that to live. And I mean, like that's also a definite draw to the other one.
So in my little universe, I've seen adults, parents encourage their kid to go into the military when they think they need that structure. Right, so you're sort of talking about how the kids might opt into it because
I'm talking about a need using the military as like it because it really is. If you're looking at it, your likelihood to see combat as a United States military serviceman right now, like probably the lowest it's ever been. Right, we lost how many people in the 20 years of Iraq? Like your likelihood of dying in a conflict. Like we're looking at how war is changing and stuff. Like I see a lot. I had a lot of friends of mine who pre-pandemic were working in the music industry. I say a lot. I mean literally 2. But that's a lot versus 0 my whole life, right? That went to the military. It was like why would I not go get stationed? I'm Korean American. Why would I not go get priority station back in Korea and get paid for it and do menial tasks over there until like things settle down? And I'm like, oh, yep, okay, that's an outlet that a lot of people find themselves in.
And something that like you saying that brought it up in my mind, like just kind of realizing this now, like a lot of the people who are like brought in like grunts, like army, like that in like Vietnam, that would have been like the draft people. Like, and I'm like, we don't have a draft now, but I'm sure this kind of carries over is like the people, like I know a friend who's very high up in the Marines, I'll say, like he went on special missions and stuff. And he is a guy who like his whole life, he wanted to be a Marine. He had toys of Marines as a kid. That, like you asked that kid at 7 years old. I remember because we went to first and second grade together, all those schools. Everyone else was like, I want to be a police officer. I want to be a dinosaur. And he's like, I want to be a U.S. recon Marine. And they're like, what? And he's like, yeah, a recon Marine, like a scout Marine, like a sniper. And it's like, you're 6. What are you talking about? And he was obsessed with that his whole life. And so like, I imagine that a lot of these like creme de la creme, like elite guys, like the SEALs, it's not someone, it's not like it's not like a Captain America where some loser comes in and they're like, you happen to be the best Marine of all time. Like, no, these guys like want to be the tippity top and they train for it. It's like the backfill of the bulk that is like people who don't want to be there.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I don't know what the death rates are like, but I would actually imagine a lot more of the like operation teams die by
you will probably get we will probably get, hopefully in 5 to 1 year post conflict, get a good breakdown of like more data of what you're talking about, like how much of the people fighting are conscripts or low trained people, like what
in
does
World War II it was massive, like
right.
I want to say 41% of the United States Army was illiterate,
and all of Russia, all of the Russian
it was something like that, or maybe 41% had never been to school. Like it was some absurd stat like that. I've been watching World War II documentaries all week. I love that shit. I found like that Amazon Prime has Amazon video, whatever it's called, has like so many really good World War II docs from like 2018 and later.
No, but like these guys were wearing 2 layers. They're wearing long sleeves. They're wearing a hat, and like they're just covered up the entire time. And I'm just thinking, like, what is it about their physiology that allows them to do this? Because I would die like within an hour.
They're probably just need money.
I think about that.
Yes, but they could take off clothes and do the same work and then have.
I bet it's the love of the game. That's what's got.
Maybe you do it for the love of the. You go to pay them and they're like pish posh. You know,
how do they no good here? I look at the military that way. I see people in the military. They wear long sleeves, long pants. Oftentimes, they have like a vest on top of their like fatigues. Like you can imagine what someone on Iraq would just picture them, right? They've got the bulletproof whatever. They've got some heavy shit they're hauling around. Even if they don't have a backpack, they still have, I'm making it up, like 30 pounds worth of shit hanging on them. And I'm like, how do you do that in the desert? I would be a heat casualty all the time.
Go back to Vietnam. Go back to Vietnam, and they're all fucking wife beaters and shit, smoking weed out of shotguns.
We all remember.
Humidity is a killer. That's why we lost Nam.
It's because it was hot.
This is making sense. Yeah.
It was the humidity.
It wasn't the heat. It was the humidity.
It was the humidity. That's why we got fucked in Vietnam.
It is why we lost in Nam.
Yeah, but why did we lose in Afghanistan with the dry heat?
It's a dry because it's a dry heat. we had acclimated ourselves to Nam.
He's making sense, Taylor. Checkmate.
I have to walk you through this shit fucking step by step.
See, this is the problem is America keeps going, moist war, dry war, moist war, dry war. If we could just hit 2 in a row.
I feel like what I'm learning
turn this franchise
in
around.
Afghanistan and Vietnam and Ukraine is it's really hard to win away games.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
You think we need a good home game?
Oh, no. That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead and invade Missouri, guys. We'll get you.
That's fucked up, man. we're like, if you're getting to us, you've already invaded at least 6 other states on the way in.
Just fucking they just paratroop into Missouri, take out the first line of defense, which are hammer murderers.
So you drop people into St. Louis and they'd be like, General, the coordinates are off. We've already struck here.
So I still see that one today.
Well, have you ever seen the footage? You know that famous Vietnam picture of the guy? There's a picture of him, and they took the picture while the bullet was in the guy's head. The guy just happened to snap a picture.
Perfect shot.
Oh, I know that. I know
and it turned out that was justifiable what he was doing there. It turned out that the guy was literally a spy who was being executed. Like it wasn't just like, oh, I'll kill this guy. It was like this was a really bad guy.
Right. Like just previous to that, he was helping some elderly woman cross the street.
No, this was a bad guy.
As I understand it, the story was he was a North Vietnamese intelligence officer captured in a battle zone wearing civilian clothes.
Yeah, something like that. Like this was
bam, you're dead.
Yeah, well, the video of it, like the guy falls over and it's just, kind of looks like a little garden hose, just brain blood, just fucked up, man. It's like, but yeah, that what are the odds of that? You take the picture.
I gotta see if I can get my Uncle Jerry's pictures. My
Uncle Jerry's pictures.
Yeah, he was an artillery-man in Vietnam, and like he would take pictures
of what?
Of the artillery aftermath. Like they would set up at the end of a field.
I don't want to see that.
They would shoot artillery into the North Vietnamese camps, and after all the bodies, the North Vietnamese would just charge through these open fields, and they just get tore up by the artillery guns. And my Uncle Jerry and his crew, they'd go together and construct totems of like their heads on a piece of stick, and they'd put their arms like tagged onto a stick like a cross thing to kind of ward them away so they wouldn't charge the field again. Huh?
Where was this again?
Vietnam.
My father-in-law was in Korea, right? Back in that war.
Yeah.
And I guess the Turks were there. If I remember right, I think it was the Turks. And he was always envious of that because they would come and they would steal from the American camps. They'd take whatever they could. Oftentimes it was just food and like supplies, and sometimes it was military stuff. But the Turks, they would chop their heads off and store it on pikes, Game of Thrones style, and they never got robbed.
Yeah.
It's a strong statement.
The Hittites are my favorite group of people from history that I learned about in high school.
I'm gonna try to get some pictures though. My Uncle Jerry has pictures of totems.
I'm sorry. Tell us about the Hittites. I want to hear about that.
Remember I was saying I think about video games for an extended period of time. Sometimes I thought about the best Assassin's Creed game, okay? This would be the best one, okay? Assassin's Creed Vietnam. The reason being, one, it's very close to today, and it was a very controversial war, so you could implement your Templars however you want. But what's so cool about it is Green Berets in Vietnam used to like navigate the jungles barefoot to not make any noise. So the idea of being like a Green Beret Assassin's Creed, and you took the Assassin's Creed 3 like tree climbing abilities and the ones that were kind of in Black Flag a little bit, so you can navigate the jungle quickly, and you're like a barefoot Green Beret, and instead of the assassin blade, it pulls out like a Rambo combat knife, and the ghillie suit is the pointed hood. So it's like a ghillie suit, and you're like in the jungle, and it's like that would be such a cool setting. And I think like I know I was there personally, asked if they would ever implement guns, and they were kind of like really against it. I guess it goes too much to Splinter Cell territory at that point. But in Assassin's Creed, where I have an M16 and a combat knife, and I'm navigating the jungle, and there's like controversy and treachery afoot, that's what I want. Like I
You could
like
be like a
that.
Rambo.
I want exactly. If you want to play the game like that, like you could do it that stuff. Just like you could be running in the streets, killing everyone with a big ass axe in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood or whatever, or the other ones. It would be cool if you had that option to go and like take an M16, and like if you had like some crazy napalm traps, and if you could hide like under the fucking grass and pop up and shit, and like
Or maybe
I don't
you
know.
could play as the Vietnamese and like set up those punji stick
Maybe
traps.
your guy
where there's
is
spiked-
Vietnamese. Maybe the assassins dude is Vietnamese. You know,
There's tunnels.
like
Press X to apply shit to Spongy Pit.
Yeah.
exactly. Insufficient shit. Find
Yeah.
food. Yeah.
Too much, not enough fiber. The shit comes off.
The shit falls off in the rain. Yeah, you must replenish.